8 o'clock in the morning in New Zealand.
Yeah, I thought our members would like to have a catch up about where you were in the world. Do you want to start off by introducing yourself and your books to us?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me on. I'm the author of the Cavendish and Walker crime fiction series. At the moment, there are 8 books in the series, the first one being Deadly Games, and it's about a Detective Chief Inspector Whitney Walker and an academic and researcher, Dr. Georgina Cavendish. She's a forensic psychologist. And in the first book, and this is when they first get together, George is walking in the university grounds and finds one of her students dead, and Whitney and her team are assigned to solve the murder. And George wants to help, but Whitney doesn't want a bar of it. So throughout the book, eventually she does let George help, and they form an uneasy alliance. So that's what I'm going to tell you about that one. So there's 8 in the series. I won't go through all of them, but the latest one, Mortal Remains, comes out, well, the paperback's out now, but it actually comes out at the end of the month on the 30th. So just quickly, I'll let you know if you're interested. For the launch, the first 3 books in the series, which is Deadly Games, wrong way around, Deadly Games, Fatal Justice, and Death Track, are all going to be set at 99 cents or 99 pence if you're in the US and the UK. And also book 4 will be free. So that's just for the launch week. That's the special offers we're doing. And also this one, until the end of the launch, is going to be at a discounted price as well. So that's my books.
What an offer. Why did you choose, so this is a question I like to ask, why did you choose to set it in a fictional town and not a real one?
That's a good question, because I've been reading a lot in the genre, and some set them in a fictional place and others didn't. And I was thinking, oh, well, if I set a fictional place, then it doesn't matter. I don't want people to say, oh, it's not like that at this place, it's not like that. But having said that, I actually have got a new series coming out next year, and that is going to be set in Market Harborough. So it is going to be set in a real town. So that was the only reason. I didn't want people to, to find mistakes. And I thought, well, if I make up a place, although Lenchester's made up, all the surrounding areas are true. It's sort of set in Northamptonshire, Warwickshire area, which is where I come from. So I know the area well. So that was why.
And your sort of main duo are a little bit unusual. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about them?
Yes, they're very opposite in nature. Whitney, the DCI, she's ruled by her head. She'll go in there. She's not averse to slightly bending the rules if it gets her what she wants. And she will also say what she thinks to people. She doesn't really suffer fools gladly. She's very small. Well, and I say very small, she's taller than I am. She's around 5'3", 5'4". And that causes her issues as well, because people tend to overlook her. So she feels the need to stand up for herself and say what she thinks. George, on the other hand, Whitney also comes from a working class family. She went through the police force. She did the hard yards. She didn't do the fast track. She worked hard and got through. And all the time being a single mother, she got pregnant at 17. George is the total opposite. She's about 5'10" tall. She's extremely striking, intimidating. She comes from well, Whitney always calls her posh. She comes from a good family. She went to boarding school. She's very different. She's totally ruled by her head. And she often has issues dealing with, not dealing with emotions, but some things just bypass her. She's not one for small talk. She's very logical. So yes, they are opposite in the way they look and the way they are, but that complements them and they help one another.
I'm thinking like George in particular is sort of a bit of an unusual person to help out with the police investigation, isn't she? How much research did you have to do to create a character like George?
Well, I've got an academic background, so I have no difficulties writing about people in academia because they can be a little different, some of them. Forensic psychology, I know a little bit about, but I did a lot of research on what that entails. I've got quite a few books on forensic psychology. In terms of her personality, some people have asked if she's on the spectrum. She isn't. She hasn't considered herself to be. So I think that's about all. I've come across a lot of people in my life, and I think you just use that knowledge and just to put it into the character. She's an amalgam of quite a few people I know, in actual fact.
Samantha has asked, you've lived in various places. Do you have a favourite?
New Zealand. We love New Zealand. We moved over here in 2001. In 2011, we tried 5 years in Australia, but we came back because we preferred it here. In terms of being in the UK, our last place we lived was a village called Cretan in Northamptonshire, and we loved that. But it was the weather, really. The weather and the people made us decide to come over here to New Zealand. It is a beautiful, beautiful place to live. And the good weather. It's not too hot. It's not like Australia, which parts of it can get very, very hot and humid. You know, we have, I suppose it's like saying our winter is like UK spring, and our spring would be like UK summer. So we're sort of like a season ahead. Where we are, I mean, parts of New Zealand get very cold in winter, but we're on the North Island, so it's very pretty.
Sorry, I was just looking at the messages that are coming in. How do you have an end in sight for the Cavendish and Walker series?
No, not yet. I've got covers for the next, hang on, 8's coming out this weekend, 9's coming out in January. I've got covers, I'm writing 10. I've got covers up to 12. And I've also got covers for the first 3 in the new series, so which is going to be slightly linked. So that's taking me into 2022. So no, not unless I run out of ideas or people don't want them anymore.
Do you keep a character bible of your characters? Because obviously they go over the series.
I'm hopeless at remembering anything about my characters, including their names. But I do have a Bible, and I do have a person that will update it for me every time a new book comes out. And I use it all the time when I'm looking at names I've used, locations, places, people. So yes, absolutely, because it would be hopeless.
Samantha's obviously been researching you because she said, where in Manchester did you live?
Oh, well, I was in Manchester. That was when I was at uni. So I lived in Didsbury. We had a big student house there. And I lived in Fallowfield. Yeah, those are the 2 places, because I was in halls for 2 years and I was out in a big flat with friends in Didsbury.
Nice. I think she's asking because she's in Manchester.
Ah, whereabouts?
I would not know. No. I'm sure she'll tell us if she's watching on the screen. She can give us an update. She also asks if there's anything that you found in your research that surprised you.
Oh, gosh, lots of things, I suppose, have surprised me. I do know, I did find out, and I used it for book 3, I think it was, how that you can actually stab someone in a certain way with the knife that means that you'd kill them straight away and they wouldn't be that much blood, and they also wouldn't be able to scream. Because I thought if you got stabbed, you'd scream, but do you want to know how to do it? If I can remember correctly, you have to put the knife flat and it has to go in somewhere between one of the ribs. and yeah, so probably too much information. Yeah, so that surprised. It's like modes of killing, yes, because I obviously with all the killings I have to come up with different ways. So yeah, that surprised me just because I thought I'd got a preconception about stabbing someone. What else? Anything else in my research? I think it's not so much surprised me. It's just it sort of increases the knowledge. Like the book I'm writing at the moment, book 10, involves. It's actually set. It involves snooker, but it involves these international betting rings, which I knew nothing about. So it's more learning things that I didn't know about. So I find that really interesting.
Do you ever worry about what people would think of your browsing history when you're researching different ways to kill people?
I used to, but no. I mean, yeah, I can explain why I know all about poisons and strangulation and stabbings and everything. So no, I don't.
Samantha says remind her not to annoy you.
Samantha, I have never put anything I've learned into practice.
Can you tell us anything about the new series, like a title or?
Yes, I can, because you're actually going to it's called Sebastian Clifford is the main character, and we're actually going to meet him in book 10 because he works for currently he works for the fraud squad in the Met, and he's sent down to help Whitney and George solve this crime, which Whitney, as anyone knows, is not happy about. So that's when you just meet him. After that, there's a massive, and I'm not sure what it is yet because I haven't wrote it, but there's a massive stuff up in his department and it's disbanded, and he is sent to Market Harborough to work. He's a DI. And that's where he's starting. So the first book's called Web of Lies, and I can tell, and a body is found at Foxton Locks, and he's going to have someone working with him. She's going to be a young, like mid-20s, single, outgoing. She's good at her job, but she parties hard as well. And her name's going to be her name's Lucinda Bird, called Birdie. One thing about Clifford is he's the son of a viscount. So he's an aristocrat, and that obviously causes him issues. What else can I tell you about him? He's also 6'5" and very imposing. So yeah, so they're going to get together. Again, it's going to be two opposites. It's going to be a different series, obviously, than Cavendish and Walker, but they will rub each other up the wrong way, his sergeant and him, initially. So that's...
How do you come up with your character names?
What I do is I look to see what year they were born in. Obviously, I decide what year, how old they were, and then I'll look back at all the current names, the popular names, because you can get up to 100, even up to 1,000 of a certain year when people were born. And then I look in my Bible to make sure I don't have a character of that name. And then I go from there. And then I look through, and it's whichever, I read through them all, and whichever name jumps out at me, I choose. Sebastian Clifford wasn't initially Sebastian Clifford. I think, first of all, what did I have his name at? I can't, he had another name, and honestly, I can't remember what it was. But it was a toss-up, and, you go to bed and you sleep on it and you get up, and that one works.
Tell us a little bit about your writing process. Do you plot it all out in advance? Or are you one of the ones who makes it up as you go?
No, I can't. I've tried that and I just blank. I can't do it. I have a very rigid process. So once I've got the idea, I'll do an outline. Once I've got the outline done, and it's only different points. Nothing. It's not long. Then from that, I write a scene spreadsheet so that I have every single scene in the book. And that takes quite a while because that's the outline's not so hard because you're just going from beginning to the end. But the scene spreadsheet is where you have to think, I'm going from here to here to here to here. So that takes time. And I usually try and have about, hang on, I usually have about 36. I'm just thinking my scene spreadsheet. 36 scenes, because I work it out. So 36 scenes, that's 2,000 words per scene. That's 72,000. And I never write that many, so it's done. So then I have my scene spreadsheet. And once that's all done, then I can start writing. So that it's quite a straightforward process, but I don't skip any. I do sometimes change things. Once you're writing, sometimes you think, oh, I could add that, or that's not working. So I will move scenes around occasionally, but nothing major once that's done. And then, so once I've got my scene spreadsheet, then I will dictate the book, which will usually get me about 40,000 words or so. And then after I've done that, I go back and I edit it and build it up. Which is where I am at the moment on book 10. Once I've done that, then it will go to be edited. And then I'll have to obviously rewrite it after my editor's had her hands on it. And then she'll look at it again. Then I'll edit it again. Then it will go through to my advanced reader team. They'll go through it. They'll find if there's anything that doesn't work for them, I will edit again. And then it will go for the proofreader.
Interesting process. You said you've got covers up to book 12. How much of a say do you have in your covers?
Because this series I'm publishing under my own publishing company, I get all the say. So when I used to write YA under a pen name for many years, and I didn't get much say on my covers. There was one book I had out when the boy had been burnt, and they did manage to put a few scars, because they'd showed his arms. I said, look, he's been burnt, and they did actually put a few scars on the front of his hands for me, but that was about as much say as I ever had.
Do you come up with your own titles as well then at the moment?
Yes, I do all the time. I mean, I run it I've got two critique, actually I forgot to mention, I've got two critique partners who I've worked with for 17 years. They actually see the books as well before they go out. And we run past each other any blurbs or covers or, what was it you asked me? See, my mind goes straight away. Titles, yeah, and titles as well, until we get something like number 10, which is actually now called Kill Shot, was originally called Dead Match, but it just wasn't working, so we changed it.
There's a question here that says, what have you learned since book 1 that's helped you to progress?
I think craft-wise, I'd done the hard yards on craft before I started writing this series. So, although I would probably, all my books previously were written for America. So, I mean, writing this was an absolute pleasure because I didn't have to worry about Americanisms or anything. Although, having said that, now my editors find Americanisms that I've accidentally put in, or New Zealandisms. But writing a series is different. I suppose if I'd have known the series would have gone too long, maybe I'd have planned it a bit better in advance, rather than going book by book by book. And I think that's what I'm doing more with the new series. So I think it's probably the overarching storyline and what happens to the characters. Yeah, I would say that's what I've learned, to think of it more as a whole rather than individual parts.
Would you be tempted to set a novel in New Zealand?
No. I don't think so. In one of my YA books, I used a New Zealand myth. It was set in the States. I used a New Zealand myth, so I did quite a lot of research on Maori myths for that. I just love being able, because it's quite hard when you're writing. Although I live in New Zealand and I've got a New Zealand passport, I'm not probably totally New Zealand centric. So I still consider that I'm British, and with that sort of, attitudes are still different, whichever country you live in. So I just enjoy setting a book in the UK. It just feels right.
Would you, because you've got quite a long running series, would you be tempted to do any spin-off novellas about the characters that appear?
There is a novella which I wrote for people that join my mailing list, and that's about Whitney 10 years previously to the start of Deadly Games. That's the first one, when she was a sergeant. And in there's a character that she really didn't get on with, and he's reappearing. He reappeared in book 3. He's also reappearing now, much to her annoyance. There is one, and I also did, again, this was for people that are actually on my mailing list, a prologue for that, set 18 months later, and it was just the court scene of the people that were convicted. So that was just something short, which I thought it would be nice for people that had read the book. There's one character who I love, who's the pathologist called Claire. I periodically think about doing a little spin-off novella for her. But probably not the other characters. It's just finding.
Do you have yeah, I can imagine. Do you have audio versions of the books?
The first 6 are up on audio. They were through Podium. It's a publisher. Obviously, everything's come to a halt with COVID. So I'm not sure where we are if we're going to do the next few. But yeah, first 6 are up there. They actually have them individually, and also they've boxed up the first 3 as a package, which I think people prefer because you have to buy credits. So obviously the more pages you get, I actually don't listen to audiobooks, but the more pages you get, I understand people prefer it. So if you can have all 3 books for 1 credit, that seems to work well. But I don't know if anybody's in Kindle Unlimited, which is the book subscription service, but Audible are doing, I'm not sure if it's out yet, are doing a similar Kindle Unlimited subscription service now. And I'm not sure if that's in just America or if it's UK, but 4 of the books my audio publisher have put into that. So I think that will make it easier for people to just read individual books. Or
that does sound good.
Yeah.
We do have members that prefer audio or only read on audio, which is why I asked. Do you have a favourite character relationship you created?
Well, aside from Whitney and George, which I love their relationship, it's Claire. I've come back to Claire the pathologist. I will do something. The thing with Claire is she is officious. She's even shorter than Whitney. She's the best pathologist in the county, probably the country. She knows it. And she wears the most outlandish clothes ever. Like nothing will match. So she'll have a pair of glittery tights on and a paisley shirt and a striped skirt, anything. Yeah. So her relationship with probably everybody. Whitney would bring new people on the team just to get the Claire treatment, because she doesn't care who it is. They just have to do as they're told, and they can only ask questions when she says they can. So it's probably Claire's relationship with everybody just makes me laugh. Every time I write that, I laugh to myself. So her.
Any of your characters based on people you've met?
They're all a little, probably, like I said earlier, a bit of an amalgam of everybody. Like my best friend she's not a George, but she is like George's height, and she can be very intimidating like George is. So it's like I just take bits of people. I don't make them whole people in case they recognise themselves.
Are there bits of you in it as well?
There must be, because yeah, I think there is, but nothing. I think it's just parts of me, because you can't help but put parts of yourself in there. So I mean, like Whitney and George. I mean, it's like my best friend and me. I'm 5'2" and a bit, and she's 5'10". So it's that, you know. I mean, but that's just physical characteristics.
Have you ever cast it in your head for if there was like a TV or film adaptation?
Oh yes, I have. I've got it planned. Well, some of them. Excuse me. Whitney, I think Nicola Walker would make an excellent Whitney. The Nicola Walker that we see in Last Tango in Halifax, as opposed to some of the other things. And if she's tall enough to play George, and I'm not sure if she is, I think Vicky McClure would be excellent. Especially, I don't know if I mean, she's good in Line of Duty, but she was in Alex Rider. I don't know if you watched that. It was recently, and she played an MI6 officer, I think. She had that air about her. And for Claire, Imelda Staunton would be fantastic. So I haven't cast the men, I just cast the women.
Oh, you've got someone on the streamer saying they love that suggestion. Nicola Walker is fab.
She is. Oh yes, I can see it now. It's coming. I don't know if it was there all the time. I've just noticed. Yes, I love anything Nicola Walker does. She's doing that. The law. Well, I don't know how late we get these things compared with you, but we're getting the second series of the law firm that she's there with. What's his name? Stephen Mangan. Can't remember. Yeah, she's good in that. But I love her in Last Tango in Halifax.
So how do you handle the marketing side of being an author? Like all the social media and getting your name out there and things?
Because I've been doing this now for a while, this series, and I now have someone who does all my advertising. I've outsourced all the advertising. And, you know, so he'll do the launch and the advertising. These other social media stuff I do myself. And honestly, I'm not very good at it. I have a Twitter account, I have a Instagram account and Facebook, and I do have a couple of admins helping me on our Facebook group who are brilliant. So yes, I do it. I keep saying to myself, I must try and post every day, or I must do this, but I tend not to. So yeah, I do that. But I mean, ever since I've outsourced the advertising, I mean, that's been a huge weight off my mind, because it means I can just concentrate on the writing.
So you've got a book coming up for release. Did you say it was coming out on the 30th?
Yes.
Of this month.
I'm just going to go. Here's that. Yes, that's coming out.
One.
Yeah.
It's coming out on my mum's birthday.
Oh. Paperback's out. What ebook that comes out on on the 30th. Sorry, what are you saying?
What are you going to do for your launch? Because obviously all the things that you might normally do are on hold because of COVID.
Right. I don't do in-person book signings because over here, it's the time and effort it would take to set up. It just isn't worth it, because these books are print on demand. If you get it from Amazon, you probably won't find them in the bookshop. So you can get them online as well from like Book Depository and Waterstones and Barnes and Noble. So they're all everywhere, but they're not. You won't find them in a bookshop. So I'd have to order a load in, go to a bookshop, and hope someone turns up. And over here, it wouldn't work. So what we do, it's all online stuff. I've got a mailing list of around about 7,500 people. So during launch week, I will email them 2 or 3 times, and we always run competitions or contests for them to enter for various prizes, Amazon gift vouchers, signed copies of books. I've got merchandise, so like mugs and things like that. We do special offers. Did I mention that at the beginning, the special offer? I think I did, yeah. So during the launch week, we'll run special offers. Like we've got the free book number 4, and then the 99 cents, 99 pence for the first 3. So that's what we do. And it's all, because I've got quite a good mailing list now, I mean, that just helps all the promotion. So it's mainly online, Facebook advertising, BookBub advertising, Amazon advertising. So that's what we do for the launch.
Do you have a way of celebrating your launch for yourself?
No.
Like, how do you celebrate each launch date? You don't.
I don't. Isn't that awful? I hadn't even thought about it. Do you know, no, I don't. I think because I've had so many books out, the first one came out, well, I had some non-fiction out in 2001, and then the YAs were out between 2007 and 2018. So yeah, I don't do anything. I think a lot of it is because I'm in New Zealand and the books are either set in America or set in the UK. So it's sort of, yeah, maybe I should have a party.
Maybe. Do you ever come across to the UK and do any author events?
I haven't done any author events in the UK. I've done them in America. I'd like to, because we do, all our family's there, and my parents are now in a care home. So the plan had been to come every year. We were coming every 2 years, but we haven't now been since 2018. Yeah, 2018 was our last trip over. We were planning to come over this year, can't. I don't know that we'll get over next year either, the way things are going. But so, and we do like to spend a few months here and go and have a holiday in Portugal on the Algarve. And our daughter's in London. So we've got loads of family over there. So the plan is to come over every year. But if I can tie it in with an author event, that would be fantastic.
You'll have to tell us when you're next coming over, and we can arrange a campaign of bookstores and things.
Oh, all right then. I'll hold you.
We can harass them. Yeah. We can harass them and see if they'll book you in.
Yeah, right, that's a deal.
Do you find readers' reviews and comments helpful? Do you read your reviews on things like Amazon and Goodreads?
No. The only reviews I read, because I've got my advanced reader team, and I use some of the reviews some of the reviews are used on adverts, some of the reviews are used in the blurb on Amazon once they've got them. They're the only ones I read. I learned long ago, because they can be so hurtful, and you just have to divorce yourself from your reviews and think, well, it's not against me, it's against, they just didn't like the book. The review, I must admit, my reviews for this series, the crime fiction, are better than some of the ones I got for the YA. YA reviewers can be brutal. I mean, one of my best reviews was somebody got, it was, all they put was, don't, just don't.
Oh no.
I mean, well, I used to teach writing. I've done a lot of writing courses with a friend and I, and we've taught writing craft and stuff, and we would do a session on reviews, and that would be a time when we'd read our reviews to find the worst, just to teach people or to teach writers that you're going to get bad reviews. Nobody can like everything, and I've read books that are bestsellers and everyone's raved over, and I couldn't finish it. It happens to everybody. You can't appeal to everybody. So yeah, I just don't bother to read them. I really don't, good or bad. And then yeah.
What are the different challenges for writing for YA than writing crime?
The language, I think you've got to, well, probably not the language actually. I used to my YA characters used to swear quite a bit. You've just got to be mindful of the fact that children read up. So you'll set a book with a main character who's maybe 15 or 16, but know that it's being probably read by a 12-year-old. So you've got to be careful. You've got to be mindful of how you express it and what's in there, I think.
Would you write in any other genres?
No. I mean, I moved from the YA that I was writing ended up being YA romance, and I don't read romance. And that's really what pushed me away. I'm writing what I read. Psychological thrillers, crime fiction. Yeah. I don't read romance. I don't read any paranormal fantasy or anything. When I say I don't, I mean, I read the Hunger Games series. I read the Mortal Instruments series, but they're few and far between. So no, I'm happy in my genre. Well, I would probably. I was going to say psychological thriller is. I'm doing a collaboration on one of those at the moment, but that's sort of quite linked.
Oh, who are you collaborating with, or can you not tell us yet?
I can tell you, she's another author called Amanda Ashby. She writes YA, and she's one of my critique partners. So she writes YA, she writes romance, she does all books set in America, and she's done middle grade under a pseudonym. So, yeah.
What crime authors would you say would be an influence on your work?
Not so much an influence. I did, when I started, I read around a lot around the genre. I read like Adam Croft, Rachel Abbott. Of course, the names are all gone out of my head now. I could look on the back because there was L.J. Ross. I read it. Yeah, I mean, I read around just to get a feel for the genre. I don't know that so much that they've influenced me, because I try not to be. You don't want to be influenced so that you end up plagiarizing. I do authors that I love, which is like people like Harlan Coben and David Baldacci. I read a lot of their books, and I like to read them to see what is it that makes that such a page-turning book. Why do I want to stay up and read it and not go to bed? And
Are there any books that you would go back and read over and over again?
Very, very few, and I'll tell you what they are. That is the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series. That's my all-time favourite. Because normally I don't reread, so I've reread them. I've got all of those, and even the new ones since Stieg Larsson died, I still like. So, but particularly the first three of those. Especially love the third one, set in the court scene. And what else have I reread? The Harry Potter series. I've reread that. That's not crime. I'm just going to look in my bookcase to see if anything's. Yeah, they're the ones I reread. I'm not a rereader, apart from something like, say, Pride and Prejudice and things like, and some of the classics.
I had a reread of Pride and Prejudice recently. A reread and then a rewatch.
Which one did you watch? Because I've just literally rewatched the Colin Firth BBC series.
Only the Colin Firth BBC series. That's the only one that's like canon for me. I won't watch any others.
Good. He is the definitive Darcy.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It has to be.
Yeah. I'd be agreeing on that one.
Samantha says, have you learned things about yourself as you've been writing?
Well, I could never murder someone. I'm not sure. I mean, you learn sort of craft things like, I've learned how I work best. I work best but then I sort of knew that before. I work best with structure. It reinforces, I work best with structure. I work best first thing in the morning. Those sorts of things, I suppose. Sorry, I'm not sure that I've answered that one very well. I'll come back to that. I'll have a little ponder on that one.
That's fine. One of our favourite questions to ask as a group is, what are your most memorable moments as an author?
I think probably the most sort of exciting thing as an author was I was over in San Francisco at a conference, and I was with some friends, and we went into the Barnes and Noble, which was close by, and I saw my book. This is the very first book I had out on the shelf, and that was amazing, because to see it there, and obviously I moved it face out, as you do, on the shelf. So that was probably the most memorable, because it was the very first one.
And my favourite question to ask is, would you make a graphic novel version of any of your books?
No, I don't read graphic novels, and I wouldn't even know where to start. I can't draw. So no, if someone wanted to do it, they could, but that would never even enter my head.
Fair enough. It's a question I like to ask. Is there anything you wouldn't write about? Because there is some quite dark moments in some of your books.
I write. Is there anything I wrote? The thing with my books is they're not graphic.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. So because you've got that additional level, because there are certain things I can't read in books. Obviously, anything harming children or harming animals, or there's things I won't read about, and so if I have anything like that, they're just not graphic. So I don't mind covering a topic at the level that I cover it at, because it doesn't go into too much detail. Because in book 2 I had the online predators against children. I do like to sort of use quite current issues, but I wouldn't. I don't think there's anything I wouldn't touch at a higher level without going into too much detail.
Would you write about our current situation in a book?
Do you know, I've been asked that before, and on quite a lot of author loops, it's been a topic of conversation, and most authors have said they wouldn't, and I agree, I wouldn't. First of all, I think people just want to get away from it. I mean, obviously we're fine over here. We're sort of virtually at normal. So, but in other places in the world, people want to get away from it, and also it dates your book. So, although my books are current and contemporary, I don't tend to put years, actual years. I go months. So, if people picked them up in 5-10 years' time, they'd still, I think, read fairly currently. But if you do we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, how long this is going to last for. So at the moment, no, I wouldn't.
That seems fair. It's an interesting question to ask, isn't it? Because we've had a similar mix of authors who said that they wouldn't, or some would because it's happening now and their books happen now and they can't really avoid it.
Yeah, it is a difficult one. Maybe in a few years' time, people will not mind including it if they're writing back a few years. It's hard sometimes to write what you're living through. You need you need some perspective.
Yeah, that seems fair enough. Mm-hmm. There's a question here from Samantha. She said, is there anywhere that you haven't lived or visited yet that you think would be a good place to set a novel?
There's plenty of places I'd like to visit. There's nowhere else I would like to set my books, because I like, when I'm comfortable with a setting, it just frees me up to write everything else. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I've been asked if somebody on one of my groups said, oh, would I consider setting one in Australia? And I said no. So I like setting, and I think this is my preference. A lot of people put a lot more into their setting than I do, and they make the setting a character. I don't tend to do that so much, and I think that's just because of my preference as a reader. So I'd probably continue setting in the UK.
So you said the new ones are sort of set in a real place in Market Harbour.
Market Harbour, yes.
How are you researching that while you're over in New Zealand?
Well, I know Market Harbour because it was 20 minutes away from where I lived, and I used it because it's a nice historic market town, and obviously you've got all the surrounding areas. So I know it. I've been there lots and lots of times, but obviously things have changed since we moved, although we've been back over since. I mean, obviously last in 2018. So I can go on Google Maps, and you can literally go down the street and you can see, like when I was setting the first book at Foxton Locks, I looked and I could see the pub and everything. And I was speaking to one of my brothers, funnily enough, and I said about Foxton Locks, and he said, oh yeah, the pub. I said, yeah. He said, set it in the pub car park. I said, no, I want to set it in this particular car park because it backs onto a bit of waste ground. And he knew the exact car park I meant. So, and he'd just been there recently.
Are you ever tempted when you've written your books to have photos of these places that you're talking about so that your readers can envisage them?
Because Lenchester was a made-up place, then no. On the covers of the first cover, because I've got covers for the first three, they are actually of the Market Harbour Town Centre. So people will be able to see that.
So we've talked about the covers and you said you've got the complete say in them. Do you have someone who designs them?
Yes.
With your description, or do you make them yourself?
No, I'm not creative at all when it comes to anything arty. Now I just send, the cover guy I use, he's really well known, and he's done covers for the likes of Stephen King and Mark Dawson. So he's brilliant at covers. I just send him a brief blurb and he comes up with a couple of ideas, some concepts, and we work from there. So yeah, they're his ideas. I can't. Some people make their own covers, but I couldn't. So
do you have brief blurbs ahead for the next so many books then? Because you've got covers up to book 12.
Ideas. I've just, because Stuart's done all my covers now, I just say, so in the Cavendish and Walker covers, they're all, if you look at them, they've all sort of got a similar style, font and everything. So all he needs to know for each one is what it's about. Like the next one that comes out after Mortal Remains is set on a farm. So I just say, oh, can I have a yellow digger and a farmer in his 50s? And then he'll do it all. So I just give him a very brief outline of what's happened. Like the snooker one, I've just said, oh, it's a snooker player who's been shot outside his house. So he'll do it, yeah. So I'm very lucky he comes up with them, with the ideas. And I'll just tell him where the body's found.
Samantha's got all the good questions tonight. She says, how long did it take from you finishing your first book to it being published, and how has that process changed for each book?
Well, if we're ignoring the non-fiction books that I did, which were different because I edited and contributed to those, my YA book, it probably took about from it being finished to being published, maybe 18 months, 2 years, because traditional publishing goes at a glacial pace. So the book was sold I wrote it in 2006 and it came out towards the end, I think, of 2007, so about 18 months. And it was brought forward because they had a gap in there. So normally it would be about 2 years. It has changed now because I publish them myself through I've got a little publishing company that publishes just me called Top Drawer Press. So I can get the books out probably in maybe 6 months, 4 months, 4 to 6 months. Because get the covers all up front, so I don't have to wait in a queue. Because Stuart's so busy, I just, in May, I think it was, I said, I booked 6 covers, and he said, well, I can do them in October. So now so I don't have to worry. And then when it comes to print covers, he'll just slot them in for me. So the covers are done. So it's just a question of doing the writing, doing the editing, booking in with the editor, booking in with the proofreader, and just keeping on top of everything. So like book 8's coming out on whenever the weekend, on the 30th, but I'm currently writing book 10, and that will be out next March. So I'm just ahead of myself. As long as I keep ahead of myself, I'm fine. And if I don't, I only have I can reset a publishing date.
So you prefer to write crime. What made you start out with YA?
I started out writing chick lit. I love chick lit. I used to read Sophie Kinsella, Marion Keyes, all those books. And I was writing, and with the girl that I'm doing the collaboration with, and we were writing that. But then chick lit just died. It just, and YA just took over. So it was quite an easy progression because it was YA with a chick lit style. So that was really why I did. I wasn't reading it, but YA, well, first of all, I kept saying to excuse me, my friends, write a YA, and they go, no, you write one. So I wrote one and sold it, and that's how that started.
Do you ever send anyone to an area of the UK to look whether it would be a good place for a body? Apparently Rachel Abbott has sent her sister out numerous times to do that. We had Rachel Abbott on for a chat.
Oh, no, I haven't done that. Because I tend to look like book 7, which all the bodies were left in woods. I just tend to go online and I wanted it to be a bluebell wood. So, because it reminded me of No Bottle Wood in Northamptonshire, but obviously it wasn't No Bottle because it was Leicester. So I I go like that. So I think, right, No Bottle Wood. So I look at No Bottle Wood, and I look at bluebells, and I look at bluebell woods in the UK, and I just look at photos and think, oh yeah, that would look nice, and just transplant that to Leicester. So no, I haven't sent anybody out to yeah, that's cool.
You're going to task people now. You send people out looking for body disposal places.
Tell me where we can leave a body.
I didn't even know how you'd begin that conversation with someone.
It would have to be someone you know very well.
Yeah. Like, go find me a place to hide a body. Yeah. They'd have to know you're an author as well, wouldn't they? It would be a bit weird otherwise.
The thing is, though, you don't want your body hidden too much because otherwise they won't be found.
No, that's true. That's true. Do you have to spend a lot of time looking into like the psychology of killers and things to sort of get into the head of them? Because George is so good at getting into the head of them, isn't she?
Not so much now. I mean, I've got a sort of sociology, psychology background. So I've got plenty of books and I've done plenty of research. So now, there's so many programs on television you can look at. I think the main thing to do with your killers is not make them one-dimensional. They are somebody's son. They are somebody's possibly father or mother or whatever. So now I feel fine about writing about sociopaths and psychopaths. But I did do a lot of research. I do a lot of research, but I don't when I start a book, in terms of doing the research, if I've got an idea, I'll look it up. I go through loads of, what I do is I go through loads of sites and copy and paste it into a massive big Word document, and then I'll read it through. So that's my initial research. And then I literally will drop into a bit of research as I'm writing. You know, I could be writing a sentence, I could think, oh, what's so-and-so? So I'll just nip onto Google and look it up and add it that way. So I'm constantly researching, but it's little and often as I need it, after I've done my initial look into an area to see if it will work.
Must be so much easier for authors now then to be able to research, because we've got Google at our fingertips.
Oh, it's fantastic. All you have to keep at the back of your mind, I always think, is Wikipedia does not always tell the truth.
Yeah.
Anyone can add to Wikipedia, so I do use it because it's so easy. But I do try and corroborate things if I can, if it's necessary. But yeah, there's nothing you can't find. I mean, I was wanting to, I can't remember what book it was for, possibly book 2, find out more about the dark web. So I didn't actually go on the dark web, but I did find out a lot about, everything's there. And like I say, and, if you want to know how to murder someone, you want to know, it's all there available for you to find.
I'm a teacher, and the number of conversations I've had where I've had to tell people that, no, you can't believe everything on Wikipedia, everything on YouTube. On the memes definitely are not like telling you the truth.
Yeah, Wikipedia.
Like blue in the face.
Yeah.
Like almost daily. Do you have any tips for grabbing people from the first page of your books?
Start where the action is. A lot of, I've judged a lot of contests in the past, and obviously, as I said, I've taught writing. So many people feel the need to put so much in up front, which is a bit of what they call an info dump. Start where the action is. That's where you grab people. Anything else you can feed in gradually later. So I always, if I'm going to find a dead body, there's going to be a dead body. It will be in the first chapter. It might not be in the first line, but it will be, by the end, you've got to have your body there straight away. Because especially when you go on Amazon and you can look inside a book, people will try before they buy. That grabs people. Start with the action, and then drip feed all the information that you think they need to know gradually.
Yeah, the opening of Deadly Games, I think, definitely had that going, didn't it? You start on the dead body like straight away. Yeah. George finds,
because we see her with her now ex boyfriend, and then she finds the dead body, and hopefully that makes people want to read on.
It worked for me.
Oh, thank you.
We've got 2 minutes left. Do you want to tell everyone a little bit more? Give everyone a reminder of yourself and your books.
Okay, right. So there's 8 books in the Cavendish and Walker series, which feature a detective chief inspector and a forensic psychologist, 2 very strong women, totally opposite, who in the first book rub each other up the wrong way and sparks fly because the DCI thinks that it's real policing that solves crimes, not people that come from academia in their ivory towers. We've got book 8, which is this book, is coming out on the 30th. And to celebrate the launch, if you're in UK or the US, the first 3 books in the three books in the series. That's not even the word. The first 3 books in the series. That one, and that one, are 99p and 99 cents for from the 30th or the 1st for the 5 days. This one, which is book 4, which is set in a cult, there's a series of suicides which turn out not to be suicides. That's going to be free from the 30th for 5 or 6 days. And this one that we're launching is also at a cheaper price. So it's a good time to if you want to try.
Yeah, excellent time. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it. It's gone so quickly.
This morning.
So, yeah, this morning, an hour. Now I can go and have my breakfast.
Go and enjoy your breakfast.
Thank you very much.
And thanks for joining us.
Thanks. Bye.
And hello.
Hello. That was brilliant. Sally's, oh, she's lovely.
I agree. Sally's amazing.
So
we're going to draw.
Got us a hat. Look, my youngest child has lent me her hat. So we have literally names to pull out of a hat. So go on, you introduce.
Should we explain that?
Yeah, go for it.
So the reason why there's two of us on the screen, is that we're drawing the winners for the live launch anthology competition. So it's two winners of criminal shorts.
No, that way.
Which is behind Sam, going in the UK, and we've put everybody's names in the hat who either commented on the original post or commented on the live launch last night.
We
haven't
did.
We?
So
and we're going to draw
everything
two winners out.
After the launch last night, I printed it out, turned off commenting off the original post, printed that out, and then cut them all out this morning. Literally cut them out. I can't I don't know if you can see, but there's literally.
Yeah, you can just see.
Kind of pieces of paper in. I'll never make a weather girl. How often do we say it? I'm rubbish. Still can't get the everything the right way around. So, are you ready?
I am. Are you doing the launch? Doing it live online.
So the first winner is, drumroll, Sue Wood. Congratulations,
nice.
Sue. I will do a post afterwards and we'll tag people in it.
Yeah, that's also going to be helpful because they are going to need some message. Do we get the addresses sent to you or just sent straight to my dad?
Either me, you, or your dad. Either way, any of the admins, that's fine because it will make its way. But David Gilchrist, your daddy, would be better, of course.
It would, wouldn't it? Because he's posting them.
What? Yeah, he is. Yeah, bless him. It was so much fun last night as well. Once I got over my insane nerves. Right, I'm having
slightly chaotic.
It feels like a clump of them here, so let's just.
And it got way less seamless when I had to take over and still merge all the authors in. That didn't go as well as I hoped it would.
I've got the next one. Glenn Coleman. Congratulations, Glenn.
Yay!
So we've got Sue Wood and Glenn Coleman. So these are both, I believe, from the original post as well.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, brilliant. Congratulations to both of you. So get in touch. We'll do a post anyway, just to tag you both. But get in touch, and we, the royal way, your dad will send them out.
He will. Yeah.
Fantastic. And we've had some great reviews as well for the book with your gorgeous photograph.
Yeah.
Of a place I don't want to stand at night.
Or in the morning. It was first thing in the morning, I think, that picture. It was on the way to work.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to walk through. Although you have shown me it in the daytime and it does look lovely.
Yeah, it's a lot better in the daytime. Just when the light's bright.
Not quite as atmospheric in the daytime, I'd imagine.
No. So Sue Wood and Glenn Coleman, we need them to message David Gilchrist. And we'll get those copies sent out.
Brilliant. Congratulations.
I'm going to take us offline.
Thank you for letting me gate crash at the end. Bye, everyone.
No worries. Thanks to Sally.